All right. So I guess we'll start with, just a very general open question. How did you come across the principles?
Well,
how and where? Where did you come across them?
So it was 2009, I think. 2009. I was in a master practitioner NLP course with Jamie Smart because I believed I needed more qualifications to have a better standing within the business world. And I realized that he was sharing more than just the practical. He was looking in a different direction. That's because I've done NLP courses before, and it's like, here's the technique, go practice the technique, let us know how to protect. But he was looking beyond the technique. And it kind of resonated with me. And I suppose when I look back on it now, I think because I have a background in church, Pentecostal church, and I'm like, there is something more about this. There's something about this person. Sorry. And so when I spoke to his managing director and I said, is Jamie on a spiritual journey? And she went, yes, he has been for the past year. I'm like, oh, okay. And then that's when he first mentioned the 3 principles. And I went, okay, I need to know more about this. And then the conference, the first conference at Tikkun was being held. And I managed to go there. And that's where I saw Amy for the first time. Introducing a video of her father and Medela. And when I was watching that, what came to me was, this will change the world. And the next thought was, I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning about this so that I can share it with others.
Oh, brilliant. Beautiful. That's just a beautiful opening. I feel like I know you so much better just from hearing that.
Oh.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, so I know that you are a member of Luv BIPOC, and it was inspired by a listening tour by Lila Turner and Christine Heath, and it has blossomed into this very beautiful and supportive group. And I know you were in the beginnings of that process. What were your thoughts in helping to shape Luv BIPOC? What kind of thoughts, or what were you thinking, or for you, what does Luv BIPOC mean to you? I have to clean up that question. It's like 3 questions in one. So I know we're on this journey with Luv BIPOC, and it started with the listening tours with Lila Turner and Christine Heath, but it has morphed into something so much more for our community. What does this journey, the Luv BIPOC journey, mean to you? Or what is important about this Luv BIPOC journey?
So if I tell you about my journey within Luv BIPOC, and even before it was Luv BIPOC, it was for Black and Indigenous people of color in response to George Floyd. Right. I think there was a recognition by Leela and Christine Heath, who were 2, I say, white females within the community, recognizing that there was an underrepresentation of Black and Indigenous people of color, that we weren't being seen or we weren't being heard. And I have to admit that one of those first meetings, it felt like it was very cathartic. I heard other people sharing their journeys and their experiences. Myself, I was enraged initially, because I'm like, look at these amazing people of color who have been around since Sid was around, and I've not seen them. I was and then, because it felt quite cathartic, I took myself out. I thought, I'm not here to heal with this group of people. I'm just not here to do that. That's not my purpose. I'm here to share my views so that the 3PGC, the 3 Principles Global Community, will hear and make a difference. So I'm not here for the healing. So I have to admit, I opted out for a few meetings initially because I needed to heal myself. and being in the group was not the way I wanted to do it. But then after a few days, I suppose my healing had gotten to a point where I wanted to be back in the group. I wanted to serve. I wanted to help. And when I'm saying serving, it was, let's schedule some groups to make sure that the momentum continues. Let's ensure that the voices continue to be heard. And initially I wanted to do something which was like, let's hold a conference just for all BIPOC facilitators, because I was so angry. But then coming back, it was like, okay, then we can only make this change together. So let's move together. And so I suppose my character, who I choose to be, is quite an action-orientated person. And so, yes, I love the feeling. I love what the principles reveals in people. But also there's also an action part to it. And I wanted to be part of the action part, whether it's the techie bit, interviews, whatever. I'll put my hand up and say yes first, then learn about it afterwards.
That's lovely. That's really beautiful. So having come through almost 2 years on this journey, we are starting to pull in a number of diverse people into our group, into Luv BIPOC. What are some of the challenges that Indigenous, ethnic, racially diverse, and the LGBTQI plus communities face now and in the past in the global community?
I suppose in the past, as a Black woman, it's not being seen as a Black woman or her Black woman. I think what the principles community, which is beautiful, is that when you look at the spiritual nature of the principles, all different way. And so, I've heard that, the phrase so many, oh, we don't see color, we don't see race, but in and of itself, that is oppressive. So not being seen and not being recognized, not being heard, not for the majority not to recognize that there was a lack of diversity, and feeling that if I were to speak out, I would just be told, oh, Janet, you're in your thinking. So, my voice and my feelings not being honored. And that's why I stepped away from the Three Principles community, because I suppose unconsciously I wasn't, I saw that, but also it's like, why am I listening to these people when Sid said it's within each and every one of us? And so I wanted to hear that wisdom for myself. And so, yes, since George Floyd, there has been a recognition of the lack of diversity, and can see that there are visible differences in conferences. And changes continue to happen. As much as we can see the visible outside, I know that there's still change that needs to happen inside in a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful thing, when we see reflections of our diversity in the group within the larger global community. It draws in more diverse experiences, more diverse people, more diverse stories, and it just enriches all of our lives. So that was beautifully said. And also the part about honoring African-American women's stories, Latino women's stories, LGBTQ stories, any stories that, we have gone through some experiences in our, community or our families where we have not been heard, that this is the platform to really try and support and celebrate that. So that was really beautiful. I guess the question that comes up, yes, we have had this exposure and awakening within the community, the larger community. Have things really started to change? I've noticed, you know, of course, there's more people that look like me and look like you at the conferences and in the YouTube videos, and, you know, different people being asked to speak. But have, like you're saying, has that change really taken place on the inside?
And I think that I was being very diplomatic.
Well, I guess that's the question, you know, all this work and the planning, and we sit back and hope, but that's been through our history, you know, as educators of who we are, how we think, what our experiences is, and that there's value there. And that's what is missing, I think, or, you know, is missing in the Global 3 Peaks community, even though the blinders were taken off a little bit, you know.
And I think it's beautiful. That's why we are here doing these interviews as well, to continue the conversation. It wasn't a one-hit wonder or once a year at the conference you have this diversity. It's about an everyday experience. And that's why we want to ensure that these experiences are available for people to not only hear, so people who are not part of listening to Unheard Voice, so an Unheard Voices group, not only for people who are not part of those groups, but for people who are not part of those groups to hear, but also people who are part of those groups to see reflections of themselves.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, we, you know, we have this beautiful platform. We have beautiful people that want to help develop this to share with the larger community. Just within the group, what do you see are some of the next steps beyond these beautiful interviews that we are planning and going with at the moment?
So I'm really excited to see us, so one, create a platform so that any person who has a program, a course, whatever going on, we can advertise that, make that more visible. Secondly, that every quarter we want to be holding sessions as Luv BIPOC for everybody to attend, to hear and heard voices, to ask the questions they're frightened of asking in other formats as well, in other forums. So to have that, to have our own seminars and summits so that we can have half day or full day summits moving forward. And well, so it's all available, whether it's Luv BIPOC, but also to the different people interviewing, to be able to share the work they're doing, and if there's any services or products that they want to sell, that they can talk about them as well. So we want to be a platform that's open, that will share, that put the spotlight on people that where the spotlight hasn't been before.
Yeah, beautiful. So that's a lovely segue into how have you shared the principles in your work? I know you mentioned that you were in the Pentecostal church. What are some of the other ways that you have grown with the principles and have shared the principles with other people in other communities?
So initially, my first contracts were working with female offenders in the community. So that was 2010. Which was amazing because it was a leap of faith. It was, you know, I have qualifications in NLP, I know cognitive behavioral therapy, I know tapping, I know almost every technique and approach. And when I principles, it was none of that made sense anymore. And so it was a leap of faith with a group of people who could quite easily have torn me to shreds because they know every CBT program going. So I love that. I have shared on a one-to-one with male offenders as well, because my background is as a probation officer. So I have the opportunity to work with people on a one-to-one over a period of time. I have spoken at conferences. fact, quite recently, I've been doing some work with Jaguar Land Rover company in the UK, just talking about thriving and not surviving. It's always about a state of mind. And so yes, so from corporate to public sector to the Crown Prosecution Service, working with solicitors and barristers, and the police. I remember working with, oh gosh, border control. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, so border control as well, just doing listening and, you know,
mm,
before. So again, every, and I suppose that all starts with me, and what the principles has allowed me to do was to shed the image that I thought was Janet and to continue
mm,
evolve.
mm. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is just a beautiful way of describing all your work. I got goosebumps listening. So I guess the other question is, can you share an experience, or what has been one of the most beautiful experiences that you've had out of all of your encounters and sharing with such diverse people and situations, and maybe, you know, with people who ordinarily would not have been exposed to the principles? What would be a lovely story that you would like to share about that, or what has touched you the most, or is there one story that maybe has touched you more than another story?
I'll say there are so many. There's a couple that come to mind, and they're from the first groups that I ran in 2010. Because again, when you're working with female offenders, they don't want to be in the room with you. They don't want to attend the group. It's mandatory. And I recall, no, I can share the one. I recall there was this one woman who used to come in every week, asked where the table was because she wanted to put her head down on the table and sleep throughout each of my groups. Like my section, like, we're not having any tables. There's no exercises, pure listening. And every week for 7 weeks, she would come in and just put her head down and chin to her chest and just look like she was sleeping, not engage in any of the exercises, or if she did, it was just grudgingly. And that taught me a huge lesson, which is just to keep going, keep sharing. At the end of the 7 weeks, it was amazing. There was like 100% compliance. They'd never had 100% compliance in this 7-week group. And some of the women were saying, oh, we want it to continue. Can you do some more sessions? I'm like, okay, we can do 3 more. And I said to this person, you don't have to come. It's okay. It's voluntary. Oh, yes, I want to come. And I'm like, what? And that, as I think about it, that was like I said, it taught me the lesson of do not look at how a person acts, Janet, because you never know what's going on within them. And she hugged me. She's like, oh, I've really enjoyed it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, lovely. All right. Well, I think we're coming up to our end of our time. What are you the most grateful for when it comes to the principles and your growth and the principles and, you know, sharing it with others?
I'm grateful I had ears to hear, that
Mm,
I say a beginner's mind to be able to hear something different.
mm,
And I suppose that's the one thing I would ask of anybody looking in this direction. It's not even to forget everything that you already know. It's about being present and being in this moment to hear without prejudice and judgment.
beautiful. That is just gorgeous. So any final thoughts or ideas before we end the session?
I suppose what comes to me at this moment is if you are in the 3 Principles community, or even if you're not, and you're just curious to know more, subscribe to the channel where you'll hear more speakers. And in the link below, you will, if you're a person described as Black and Indigenous person of colour, look out for our Safe Spaces meetings and come and listen.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Janet. It has been an absolute pleasure to sit and chat with you for a little while. And please feel free to contact me if you have any other questions.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer. That's been awesome. Thank you.